Nope. Well, that was just rude. Good morning, everyone. I'm having technical. Oops. Go back. It was up there, you know, it was right there. Honest to God. It was right there. And then it just went. That's right. Absolutely. Okay, we're back. Okay, before I talk about the talk, good morning. Let me just connect for a second. The class that's coming up on, actually, I guess it's next Saturday. Boy, time just flies. So it's for people who want to join the church, who want to become members of the church, but it's for anybody really. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use the book by Ellen Davenport, who is the head of publishing at Unity headquarters right now, called The 5 Principles. And so on the first week, we're going to do the first 3 principles. And then the second week, we'll do the second 2 principles and then do a piece about the ministry and all of that. But so it's really a class about our basic 5 principles, Unity's basic 5 principles. So I invite anybody to come who would like to know more about what we believe. So having said that, I'm going to talk about the power of divine order. And the affirmation this morning was actually understanding divine order. I can embrace paradox and navigate chaos while keeping my balance. I can embrace paradox and navigate chaos while keeping my balance. Yeah. Anybody else kind of feel like, yeah, I'll do that. I'm on board. When we first come into New Thought or into Unity, we often come in because things feel out of control. And we know that there's a way that we can bring our life into more balance. I can just control what's going on. If I can control my thoughts, then I can control what's happening. I can create what's happening. And that works for a while. And then we get a little tired because we're trying to force things. We're trying to make things happen the way that we want them to happen, not allowing things to unfold. We sit down and we say, okay, this is my affirmation. This is what I want. This is what I want to create. And so I'm going to do what I need to do in order to create what I want to create. The other thing that happens in that is it can also feed into our wounds of not being enough. Because when it doesn't happen the way that we think that it should happen, then we internalize that. We can have a tendency to internalize that and think, what's wrong with me? Why can't I do this? So I have some good news for you. The power of divine order is not the power to control the world. We do not have the power to control the world. Divine order is the power to control ourselves. Divine order is about coming into alignment. It's about making adjustments. It's about coming into alignment with the truth of who we are, getting in touch with that. So the power of divine order is one of the 12 powers inspired by Charles Fillmore, who's the co-founder of Unity. Charles believed that each of these 12 energies reside within us, and that as we engage in them in balance, that we awaken to our true nature. We fully awaken to that Christ consciousness that is within us, that is already within us. And so I would add that when we engage these principles, that we wake up, we grow up, we clean up, and we show up. And that's a real integral way of looking at it. It's a holistic way of looking at it. That it's not just about waking up and feeling good and doing it for me. It's about growing up spiritually, being an adult child of God. What would it look like to be an adult child of God? To clean up, to do the work that we need to do to heal those wounds that hold us back. So, and to, let's see, to wake up, to grow up, to clean up, and to show up. It means that we show up as our true selves, authentically, all the time. I mean, how wonderful would that be to be able to really show up as that divine expression that we are, and to show up that way consistently. That's really what the 12 powers are about. So Charles Fillmore believed that these 12 powers were represented by the 12 disciples. So when Jesus called the disciples from a metaphysical standpoint, when Jesus called the disciples to follow him and to learn, that he was calling forth these powers that were within him. The power of divine order is represented by the disciple James, son of Alphaeus. And I have created the 12 women who are the counterpart. So we have both the masculine and the feminine. And the counterpart is Martha. The color for this disciple, for this power, is green, dark green. And the location is in the navel. So, and that has to do with the fact that divine order has to do with bringing forth new life, feeding the new life that is growing within us. And so it has to do with the navel. So I want to begin this morning by talking about Martha, because I haven't talked about the women in a long time. So I thought today is a good day to talk about the women. We'll talk about Martha. Martha is one of the 12 women in the New Testament who supported Jesus of their substance. Now, supporting Jesus of their substance did not mean that they paid his bills. If the man could feed 5,000 people, I don't think he needed a couple of women to pay his bills. So what does it mean to support him of their substance? To me, it's about that balance of the masculine and feminine. It's about that balance of bringing in both, because we all have both qualities within us. And so it was bringing in that nurturing, bringing in that type of support that comes from the feminine. And so Martha, as with most of the women who supported Jesus of their substance, is a Mary. Martha is a derivative of Mary, and she has a sister, and her sister's name is Mary. So Martha and Mary live with their brother Lazarus, and it says that Martha is the head of the household. It is Martha's house. And she invites Jesus. It's a very short story. It's in Luke 10, and she invites Jesus to come and to have a meal. She invites him in for hospitality, place to rest, and a place to be, so that he's not just out on the street. And Martha represents order because Martha wants everything to be in order. She's getting everything in order. She's getting the meal in order, and she's making sure that everything's in order and that everybody has what they need. And she's, she's kind of worried about it. She's kind of fretting about it because everything needs, think about it. If you have somebody special come over to your house, you want your house to be in order. It's just kind of a natural thing for us. We want our house to be in order because we want to give that great hospitality. Well, while Martha's running around doing this and doing that and trying to make everything just so, Mary is sitting at the feet of Jesus, just listening, just sitting there, taking it in. Martha goes to Jesus and says, "Teacher, I'm running around and doing all this stuff. Could you please ask Mary to get up and help me?" And Jesus's response is, "Martha, my dear Martha, you worry so much. I won't tell Mary to get up. She has," and in some translations it says, "she has chosen the better way." So let's look at that from another perspective. Because what that did was, from my perspective, it just sets Martha up to be, Martha's material, bad Martha. And Mary is spiritual, good Mary. We want to be like Mary, right? We want to have our little halo going on. So let's look at it from another perspective. Martha represents within us that awakened part of us that knows that we need to work. Now, yes, she's worrying. And in this case, she's really being called by the Christ consciousness within her. So those moments when we're called by the Christ consciousness within us to let go of the worry. He doesn't tell her, "Oh, Martha, don't worry about dinner. I'm good. We don't need to eat anything. Sit down, have a glass of wine, chill out." He doesn't say that. He says, "Don't worry. You worry so much." So what are those things that we worry about? Because we all do it. I'm sure that I am positive I am not the only person who worries. Because, think about it. We worry about our health. We worry about relationships. We worry about our finances. We worry about the pandemic. We worry about what's happening in Afghanistan. We worry about what the fires are doing in California. We worry about the hurricane in the south. We worry about the earthquake in Haiti and how are people in Haiti doing, and it goes on and on. And what Jesus was really saying is, worry is a block for the divine flow. When we get caught up in worry, we block the divine flow. It's like putting a dam in the river. And so what he was doing was he was inviting her to let go of some of the worry, but still do the work. Excuse me. So I want to take it even deeper with Martha. Because Martha is that part in us that sees what needs to be healed. She sees what needs to be healed. She is calling, she's calling Mary to get up and to do something. Excuse me. There is a scripture in the New Testament that says, be not only hearers of the word, but doers. And so again, here it is. It's that balance. It's bringing in that balance. We don't want to just hear, but actually do. And so Martha represents that part of us that is calling us, into action, appropriate action. Not just action that's running around doing anything, just trying to make something happen, but to look at it as an order, that there is a divine order in the unflowing of life. One of my favorite things is a hologram as a spiritual concept. A hologram is a design that is made up of little designs exactly like the big design. A fern frond is a hologram. It has within it the little curled up ferns. A rose is a hologram. A seashell. Many seashells are. And what they represent is they represent that unfolding, that natural unfolding, that there is a natural order to the way that things unfold in this world and unfold in our lives. We learn to crawl before we learn to run. We learn our ABCs before we learn where to put commas and periods and exclamation points and all of that. There's a natural order that is unfolding, and that natural order is unfolding within us. That as we stay open, as we allow that Martha that is within us to come forth and to speak within our hearts and to give us guidance as to how to allow this to unfold, then it continues to unfold. And life unfolds in a divine sequence. And it will appear miraculous. It'll appear miraculous. We can stand back and look at it and go, wow, how'd that happen? I didn't see that one coming. That wasn't part of my, my little thinking up here that said, it's going to happen this way. This is going to happen, and that's going to happen, and then that's going to happen, and then that's going to happen. Eric Butterworth, in his book, which book is it? It is The Universe is Calling. He talks about how in divine order, things often unfold in a linear fashion. And those of you who know me know I don't do linear a whole lot, but it says that it unfolds in a linear fashion. He says, but you bring down the energy from above. And that energy that we bring in, shifts it, because it shifts us. Every time that we shift our awareness, we shift what we see and how we see everything unfolding. In that book, he talks about divine order as being a state of grace. And he says, living in a state of grace can mean nothing more or less than living in a disciplined awareness of the divine flow. God's flow is constant. Our experience of it changes with our consciousness. So if I'm in a place where I'm, being pouty and mopey and worrying and fretting and holding resentments, the divine flow's not going to be flowing very smoothly. But when I let go of all that stuff, then I see things from a different perspective. And when I see things from a different perspective, new ideas come in. It opens the channel for new ideas to come in, new ideas to work with, new energies to work with. And the outcome can be something so much grander than what we had intended when we first started. And we didn't have to change the world while we were doing it. We didn't have to change our spouse or our significant other or our children or our neighbor or anybody else. We changed ourselves, and in changing ourselves, the way we see the world changes. The way that we experience others changes. He goes on to say, and I love this, you are the very self-livingness of God. When you desire spiritual growth, it is God who has first desired it in you. When you desire spiritual growth, it is God who has first desired it in you. It is that divine presence within us that is calling us up. So have you ever watched a bird build a nest or a beaver build a dam? Construction people build a house. They've been building a lot of houses over by my house for the last couple of years. And it has just fascinated me to watch this process. First, they lay the pipes, do the pipe, the underground, all the underground stuff. Then they lay the foundation. They never lay the foundation and then go back and try to put the pipes in. They always put the pipes in and then lay the foundation. And then they do the framing. And this is the part that surprised me. And then they put the windows in. I always thought that was weird. Why would you put the windows in now? Windows are breakable. They might break. And then you'd have to replace them. So I have a friend whose husband does construction, and she said the reason that they put the windows in first is because they cannot do the stucco on the side of the house before the windows are in, because it will change the frame of the window and the window won't fit in. Oh, there's a reason for that. I didn't know there was a reason for that. Things can look chaotic. Things can look chaotic and we don't understand. We don't understand. John Roach, in Unity's little book, How to Stay Centered No Matter What, says, chaos is an order we do not yet understand. This includes paradox. I'm saying that this includes paradox. He says, chaos is an order we do not yet understand. So paradox is two apparently opposing statements or principles that are true. So Roach goes on to say, the universe and humankind's understanding of the universe is constantly unfolding. Newtonian physics, in its elegance and surety, became the foundation of our understanding for 2 centuries. the apparently chaotic and contradictory landscape of quantum physics was posited, which shift our adventure in knowledge to new levels. The outwardly crazy dance of subatomic particles and their refusal to be pinned down in time and nature initially confused us, but is ultimately exhilarating. Particle or wave, spirit or matter, order or chaos. In our new understanding, we do not have to choose one or the other. Both nest together like the Taoist symbol of yin and yang. There is an order in the universe and the wholeness in which we live. We may not always understand it. But we can trust that it is there. So how do we engage this power of order in our daily lives? When we think of the power of order as being the power of organization, alignment, and transformation. So a question to ask yourself is, are my affairs in order? What does my, this is what I always go to, what does my desk look like? Because I have a tendency to walk in and do this on my desk. So it's like, what does your desk look like? Is there a drawer that you have in your house that you kind of open and close it real quick? Or a closet that you do that with? So to practice the power of divine order, the invitation I'm going to give you this week is to bring order to one area in your life. Choose one small. Don't choose the hugest project you can think of. One small area. In fact, set a timer for 10 minutes and do it for 10 minutes. Just give it your all for 10 minutes. And then see how that changes the energy in you. It shifts the energy in you because our outer circumstances are a reflection of our inner circumstances, our inner being. And so if we bring to order an aspect of our life, and it may not be a physical aspect, maybe there's some forgiveness work that needs to be done. If there's, or some worry that needs to be released. Something that is standing in the way, something that is that block, just to let go of one thing this week that will allow divine order to flow in our lives a little more cleanly, a little more clearly, so that we can see the power that we have as the livingness of God. I'm going to leave you with this, with a blessing. May the blessings of grace and divine order abide in your life in this week and always. So let's take a moment. Let's take a moment and take this into meditation. So we just want to focus on our breath for a moment. Allowing our breath to just take us to that sacred place within. That sacred place where we hear where we hear spirit within our own hearts, within our own souls. You may be aware of sounds that you hear. Just allow them to be. Don't try to resist them. Just focus on the breath and take these words into your heart. I understand divine order. I embrace paradox and navigate chaos while keeping my balance. I understand divine order. I embrace paradox and navigate chaos while keeping my balance. I am the very livingness of God. I release what stands in the way. I use my breath to release, to exhale and let go. I create a space in my being for divine order to reveal itself within me. My life comes into harmony and balance. As I take steps as guided, my eyes are open and I see with new eyes, new life. A new life of joy, peace, love, balance, harmony, happiness. to make wise choices. I know what to do and when to do it. And I have the courage to follow through. I know that I am the very livingness of God. And my life is an expression of divine order. And so again, breathing into this space. Allowing the breath to bring you back into an awareness of sitting on the chair in this room. Taking in a deep breath and letting it out. You open our eyes when we are ready.